Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. I'm Boyd Matheson. We're broadcasting live from the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit, talking on a wide range of issues impacting this extraordinary part of the state that is part of the great growth of the state. And we're really thrilled to kind of dig into something that I think often goes under the radar in these kind of conferences. Utah's not immune to the challenges of poverty and hunger and homelessness. But how can we help people really break out of poverty, that we make it so that they're not just liabilities to be managed, but they're assets, their potential to be fostered and developed? How do we get to those long-term solutions? Really thrilled to have joining us Karen McCandless, who is the Executive Director of Community Action Services and the Food Bank in Provo. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you. Glad to be here.
So tell us about your part of this conversation today. Again, we're talking growth, we're talking about prosperity, all of those kinds of things. And in the midst of all of that, we still have people who are struggling.
We certainly do. We have a lot of people in our community who are precariously housed. My work here with the Growth and Prosperity Summit was to talk about the housing opportunities and challenges for those who are between being unsheltered clear up to buying their homes. And
that's such an important part of the conversation. Again, a lot of times we think just of those who are unsheltered, those who have experienced chronic homelessness, but you really look at the whole span there. And so you probably have a better read on where we really are in terms of affordable housing and that path. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in Utah County, we have, as with other areas of the state that a challenge on affordable housing. We have a number of people that we work with who are just one paycheck, one accident. If utility bills go up, they're going to lose their housing because their paychecks are so tight. So what we do is we work with them to try and find some solutions to help support their income. We may be able to help them with food so they can use money that they would have used for food to help meet some of their other housing needs.
Yeah, and you were part of an important panel discussion today around housing. Give us a little sense of that conversation.
Well, that conversation revolved around the different types of housing that we need in the community. I spoke specifically to the home ownership component, so the transitional housing, the supportive housing, subsidized housing, and how we have those needs. We have probably the biggest gap that we have in Utah County as far as housing is concerned is housing for people who need to stay somewhere for a week to 30 days because the housing market is so difficult that if one is in need of housing, it sometimes takes a little longer than a couple of days to find a new place to live.
That becomes a real tricky thing, especially as you're as you said before, you're trying to help people from that very first stage all the way to that self-reliant stage, and those early stages can often be the most difficult.
They are because if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all those things that you need to even begin to have a stable life aren't there. And you're in a constant crisis. And so you don't have the opportunity to step back and think about a plan because you're just trying to figure out where your next meal is.
Right.
Or where you're going to sleep that night.
Yeah. Give us a sense on the food front in terms of Utah Valley, what those needs look like. Again, we often talk about that. We talk about downtown Salt Lake City, and we talk unsheltered homelessness and food needs right there. Utah Valley has some of their own unique challenges there.
We sure do. We have some food challenges. We have our organization, Community Action Services and Food Bank, and we provide food to about 90 organizations. Plus, we operate 6 pantries of our own in our service area, which is Utah Summit and Wasatch counties. And then we have another food pantry in the area, Tabitha's Way. And between the two of us, as we meet together frequently, and we're finding that there's a huge increase in these families, a lot of families coming in, just needing food so they can use their money to help make ends meet in other ways.
Maverick has big lanes for big rigs. Fuel your adventure with our truck and RV lanes at select locations. We've got def, great prices, and fast fueling pumps. Then you can pop inside for some fresh-made bonfire food, always fresh coffee, our famously clean bathrooms, and all your favorite snacks and drinks. It's just what you need to get in gear and get back on the road. Maverick, adventure's first stop.
Yeah, we know that the inflation and some of those economic challenges that the country is hitting. Well, we're hitting here in the state of Utah, and it is causing all of those prices to go up. Whether it's food, whether it's fuel, whether it's housing, those are all hitting everyone in a significant way. So, at a conference like this, where it's growth, it's prosperity, everyone thinks it's the blue sky, shoot the moon possibility stuff. The things you're talking about are things that if we don't get right, the growth and prosperity never really happens in the end. So what is it that you hope business leaders and government leaders take away from this conference as it relates to home and food?
Well, I hope they take away, in my presentation I talked about what the participants could do, and I had a slide that just said the word courage, because the challenges that we face will take courage to solve. And it may be thinking more out of the box. It may be associating and interacting with people who are different than us as we work with them to thrive in our communities. So just that open-mindedness to look at trying to make change is what I really tried to emphasize.
Oh, I think I love that. Yeah, I love that you went at it that way because that was not going to be my guess of what you said. So that surprised me, and I love that. That it is the courage. The business leaders, the government leaders have got to have courage to lean into those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
We always joke on the show that when the sea is calm and the breeze is light and the sun is out, every boat in the harbor has a great captain. But when the turbulence comes and the waves are roaring and the wind's blowing, you find out who can really have the courage to captain the ship, and that's a great challenge. That's a great test for everyone in the community.
It is. I have served as an elected official in the past and understand how that works, and it is true courage to just recognize that everyone is part of the same human family, and that nobody's excluded from being part of that human family, and everybody needs a place to live, and everybody should have the opportunity to thrive the best they can in their communities.
Yeah, we always go back to Lincoln saying that the end of government is really to clear the path of laudable pursuit for all, to give all an unfettered chance and a fair start in the race of life, and you're doing that on a daily basis, Karen. And what else should we be thinking about, especially going into these winter months? What should we be thinking about when it comes to shelter, when it comes to those with food scarcity?
I think just keeping in mind that there are resources available. I get asked a lot, what resources are available in Utah County? And there are a lot of different resources available to help individuals. So, but we do need items. For example, the food needs that we have, we particularly need dried beans, dried rice. As I talked to our COO about this, he says, anything you would eat.
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list, that. But we also will distribute sleeping bags, tarps. In the perfect world, we wouldn't need those. We would have a place for people to live and to be housed in a more permanent structure. But the fact of the matter is that we, in Utah County, have over 200 people who are homeless. And so we need to provide those things for them so they can be safe.
Yeah, great insight, great perspective. We all are fellow travelers on this crazy planet Earth of ours, and we all have a responsibility to lean in and link arms. Karen McCandless, Executive Director of Community Action Services and Food Bank in Provo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and step aside for bottom of the hour news. We'll come back and continue our conversation from the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit. Coming up, UVU President Astrid Tominas. Stay with us. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Maverick has big lanes for big rigs. Fuel your adventure with our truck and RV lanes at select locations. We've got depth, great prices, and fast fueling pumps. Then you can pop inside for some fresh-made bonfire food, always fresh coffee, our famously clean bathrooms, and all your favorite snacks and drinks. It's just what you need to get in gear and get back on the road. Maverick, adventure's first stop.